Time is precious. Time is money. And this is the time for Money Talk on Atlantic Television Network right here in the big business city of Port Harcourt. On ATN Business today, lack of crude oil supply stunting modular refineries by Koran. Top 30 firms on Nigeria Stock Exchange borrow 1.69 trillion naira. On global stocks, bullish trends lift Asia markets and artificial intelligence elevates Wall Street. On the economy, despite subsidy removal, federal government spends 3.6 trillion naira in 2023. Good day, viewers, and welcome to a fresh episode of ATN Business on Atlantic Television Network right here in the city of Port Harcourt. This is the network's medium of bringing the happenings in the economy sector of our society to our discerning viewers. This program is aimed at bringing to the doorstep of the viewers the business, financial, and economic activities from all strata of society. Its delivery is accentuated through the various stock exchanges across the world, news about government economic activities, private sector business activities, laced with expert opinions, stakeholder analysis, and correspondent reports. By the end of this show, you can be rest assured of being accurately informed of financial activities all around the world. Let's go for a short commercial break, and when we return, we'll reel out the full details. Please stay tuned. Glad to have you back. And now let's go into the market reports and local and international business news for today. Funding for the construction of 20 modular refineries in Nigeria is at risk as foreign investors withhold their money due to lack of guaranteed crude oil supply for the facilities. These modular refineries aimed at boosting domestic refining capacity are facing a major hurdle. International oil companies, the primary source of crude oil in Nigeria, are hesitant to provide guarantees that crude oil will be available to the refineries once operational. According to operators of the modular refineries, only 5 out of the planned 20 are currently functioning. The remaining 15, at various stages of completion or with licenses secured, are facing financial roadblocks due to crude oil supply and the uncertainty of it. According to Eche Idoko, the publicity secretary of Crude Oil Refinery Owners Association of Nigeria, only 5 of our members have completed their refineries. The others are having a major challenge. This challenge is that the people who are supposed to finance them have not disbursed financing for construction because they want some level of guarantee. Koran is a registered association of modular and conventional refineries companies in Nigeria. Modular refineries are simplified refineries that require significantly less capital investment than traditional full-scale refineries. The Koran officials said that this is the reason why most modular refineries in Nigeria have yet to be completed, adding that the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission should impress it on international oil companies to provide these guarantees. He said modular refineries, as well as some downstream operators in the sector, have repeatedly called on the regulator to mandate the international oil companies to supply crude to indigenous refiners first before importing the commodity. Also moving on, the House of Representatives has urged the federal government to redirect the focus of the negotiations from fixing a new minimum wage to fixing a realistic living wage for Nigerians. This followed a motion of urgent public importance during House plenary on Wednesday by the House Minority Whip, Honorable Isa Ali. Honorable Ali noted that the labor, employment and productivity unions have since demanded for a living wage as against the minimum wage to meet today's economic realities. He said in line with Section 3, Subsection 4 of the Act, the extant minimum wage, which commenced on April 18, 2019, has expired after 5 years on April 18, 2024, thereby calling for a further review of the existing Act. Let's listen to him.
I must be sincere that a call for a 400 and something, 450 or 430,000 minimum wage is it's too high. You can remember that even the 30,000 minimum wage as initiated by the President Muhammad Buhari, former President Muhammad Buhari's administration, that up to this very moment,
Mr. Speaker, the House, cognizant to the fact that the global economic outlook as well as recent socio-economic policies of government have resulted in inflation, increase in electricity tariff, currency devaluations, and other diverse economic consequences, especially for Nigerians and Nigerian workers. Equally, cognizant that the government has been locked in negotiation with labor unions toward the upward review of the minimum wage for some time without any agreement, leading to a recent interruption in the negotiations. Commend government for showing absolute commitment by imploring the labor unions to return to negotiation table. Aware that the National Assembly repealed and enacted the National Minimum Wage Act 2019 to fix the minimum wage at 30,000 naira, even when the proposal of the executive then has suggested 27,000 naira at the time being. And also aware that there was 40% wage award by the former President. Also aware that in line with Section 3, Subsection 4 of the Act, the extant minimum wage, which commenced on April 18, has expired after the validity of 5 years on the 18th April 2024, thereby calling for a further review of the existing Act. Mr. Speaker, the House, cognizant to the fact that the global economic outlook as well as recent socio-economic policies of government.
Lawmakers who took turns to harp on the need to review the wage expressed expressed their displeasure over why the federal government should have allowed this to get to a level where the national grid and the airports were shut down, saying that it was against what it intends to achieve, which is fighting for the masses. and at the same time suffering the masses.
We are being faced as a country with the issue of insecurity, and then the next issue that is bedeviling Nigeria as a country, in my opinion, is that of corruption. We cannot truly fight corruption if we don't pay the Nigerian worker a living wage.
And for several years, Nigerian workers have been complaining and crying concerning the issue of salary. Who earns 50,000 in this country and you think that a person can truly depend on a salary? Let's not deceive ourselves. It is not possible. How much is house rent? How much is your transport fare to your office and back home? And so we expect a Nigerian worker to earn as low as that and continue to serve this country. Let us stop playing the ostrich. Let's be realistic.
Why do we allow situation until the sector is being suffocated before we begin to blame one person or another? Whereas the constitution of this country, the mandate of the people of this country have empowered us to call that law periodically to checkmate it. We are crying for Nigerians here. The poverty, the prices of commodities in market, the standard living condition of the people is sympathetic. So it is very terrible. And here we are, fighting for trade union living condition. I agree, they constitute 13% of the population of this country. But go to equity with clean hands. Do not, in doing that, suffocate sectors like hospitals, where if it is not run, Nigerians will lose their lives. The primary responsibility of government is protecting the life and properties of its people.
The House, in its resolution, commended labor, employment and productivity unions for their commitments towards negotiating a new minimum wage for Nigerian workers at this very critical period and resolved to call off the strike in the interim. It urged government to redirect the focus of negotiations from fixing a new minimum wage to fixing a realistic living wage for Nigerians, and also urged the government to further consider the downward review of electricity tariff to reduce the sufferings of Nigerians. And moving on, analysts have stated that the demand for a new minimum wage is apt for the increasing high cost of living across the country. Speaking on Atlantic Television Network's Blowout program, the public affairs analyst Okpara Martins highlighted major reasons to demand a more sustainable wage among civil servants, as he further tasked the labor union and the federal government on a more realistic wage cut as it may.
I must be sincere that a call for a 400 and something, 450 or 430,000 minimum wage is it's too high. You can remember that even the 30,000 minimum wage as initiated by the President Muhammad Buhari, former President Muhammad Buhari's administration, that up to this very moment, some states are yet to implement it.
Yes.
Some states are yet to implement it. So calling for a 400 and something thousand naira increase minimum wage, it's not feasible.
Meanwhile, Martin Okpara emphasized on the need for an industrial economy across the country.
Some states in this country, I know states I've been to in this country, and they are producing virtually nothing. They only depend on what comes from the federal allocation, the federal monthly allocation. And that's why we are clamoring for production, a productive government, a productive nation. That's what we're talking about. You won't see it doing nothing. What we'll just have is purely civil service, and all you're dependent on is what will come at the end of the month. You're not making initiative, you're not making productive initiatives that will at the end of the day employ people, that will at the end of the day generate revenue. Some states are generating what I call almost zero revenue at the end of the month.
This is coming after a new minimum wage of 90,000 naira for Nigerian workers have been proposed by Senator Orji Uzor Kalu, in order to resolve the lingering minimum wage impasse between the federal government and the organized labor. Now on to similar stories concerning the Nigerian Naira. Analysts have expressed grievances following the lingering instability of the Nigerian Naira at the foreign exchange. Public affairs analyst Opara Martins on Atlantic Television Blowout blamed the current APC administration for its inability to be resolute on Naira appreciation and stability.
It's blamed the current administration for the rise and fall of the dollar. I think they are not doing much in order to improve the Naira. And I will tell you, first, in the previous administration, we had a government that borrowed money to spend and not to invest. And it is simple. When you borrow and you spend, for instance, in elementary philosophy of economics analysis, when there are two states, state A and state B, okay, and you borrow, and state A, which is the profligate, begins to spend the money without investing it, and the state B, the prudent, okay, begin to invest the money, the activity of state A is going to affect state B.
In a bid to revamp the nation's economy, Opara Martins tasked the federal government of Nigeria on the need to industrialize the nation's economy.
Revamping our production sector. Bring back Ajokuta Steel. Bring back industries. In the 70s, I wasn't born then, but I read that there were some automobiles, foreign automobiles, that were being produced in this particular country. We export virtually we import virtually everything in this country, including toothpick. You import everything in this country. So when the import level is far, 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 far higher than the export, that is what happened.
This is coming after Naira lost grip in the black market as the US dollar takes the lead. And here on ATN Business, we're taking the lead on asking for advert placements, bookings, and commercials. And you can do this by connecting with us and watch us on our ATN socials, Facebook and YouTube, Atlantic Television Network. On Instagram and TikTok, we are on Atlantic TV Network 1. On X, formerly Twitter, Atlantic TV Net, and watch us live on our website, atlanticnetwork.tv. And moving on, top 30 firms on Nigeria Stock Exchange recorded a combined 126% surge in interest expense as the Naira devaluation and jumbo interest rates by the central bank raised the cost of borrowing in Africa's most populous nation. Interest expense on this company's borrowings jumped to 1.69 trillion naira in the first quarter of 2024 from 721.1 billion naira in the same period of 2023. Access, First Bank, Zenith, UBA, United Capital, Fidelity, FCMB, Dangote Cement, GTCO, and MTN Nigeria emerge as the top 10 countries with the highest interest expense of the NGX Nigerian Exchange 30 companies in the first quarter of this year. They recorded a cumulative interest expense of 1.44 billion naira in the first quarter of 2024 as against 576 billion naira in the same period of last year. Analysts think that the rise in interest expense is a result of a higher interest rate environment and tight market liquidity during the period. In the first quarter of the year, the Olayemi Cardoso-led Monetary Policy Committee raised the MPR by 400 basic points to 22.75% from 18.75%. By March, there was another 200% basic points hike to 24.75%, while the cash reserve ratio, CRR, was increased to 45% from 32.75%. According to the CBN, the interest rate hike was in consideration of the persistent rise in the inflation rate and the fragile growth. Nigeria's headline inflation accelerated to 33.69% in April 2024. Airtel and Ecobank Transnational Incorporated, ETI, were exempted from the analysis of the NGX 30 index as their financials are reported in dollars. Companies operating in Nigeria are increasingly relying on credit to fund capital projects, acquire equipment, and cope with soaring prices of raw materials and energy. This shift comes at a time when interest rates are climbing at their fastest pace in decades, adding to the financial strain. And now let's bump heads with Wall Street. Asian markets rose Thursday after Wall Street barreled to records on Wednesday as the frenzy around artificial intelligence technology keeps sending stocks higher. U.S. futures were lower while oil price gained. In Tokyo, the Nikkei 225 index climbed 0.6% to 38,703 points, and the Hang Seng in Hong Kong edged 0.1% higher to 18,437 points. And the Shanghai Composite Index dropped 0.2% at 3,059 points. Australia's S&P ASX 200 gained 0.7% to 7,822 points after data from Australian Bureau of Statistics showed the country's trading surplus rebounded in April, with exports falling 2.5% and imports dropping 7.2%. Taiwan's TAIEX surged 1.9% with contract electronics makers Foxcom's shares losing 1.6% despite the company's reporting its revenue rose 22.1% year-on-year in May, a record high for the month. In India, the Sensex added 0.8% after Wednesday's Prime Minister Narendra Modi's coalition won a major in parliamentary in the country's national elections. In Bangkok, the SET lost 0.2% and South Korea's markets were closed for a holiday. On Wednesday, the S&P 500 climbed 1.2% to 5,354.03 points, hitting the top of its all-time high set 2 weeks ago. The Nasdaq Composite jumped 2% to 17,187 points and likewise set a record. The Dow Jones Industrial Average, which has less of an emphasis on tech, lagged the market with a gain of 0.2% to 38,807 points. The rally sent the total market value of Nvidia, which has become the poster child of the AI boom, above $3 trillion for the first time. Nvidia is leading the way because its chips are powering much of the rush into AI in artificial intelligence, and it rose another 5.2% to bring its gain for the year to more than 147%. As an aside, Nvidia has now surpassed Apple as the most profitable company. Apple has the only U.S. stocks to ever top $3 trillion in total value. Wow. Apple regained that milestone valuation after rising 0.8% on Wednesday. The gains for tech stocks helped offset a 4.9% drop for Dollar Tree, which matched analysts' expectations for profit but just fell shy of revenue. The retailer also said that it's considering selling or spinning off its Family Dollar business. The broad retail industry has been highlighting challenges for lower-income U.S. households, which are trying to keep up with the still high inflation. Treasury yields fell into the bond market, following some mixed data on the economy. One report said real estate, healthcare, and other businesses in the U.S. services sector returned to growth last month and beat economists' forecasts. Perhaps more importantly for Wall Street is the report from the Institute of Supply Management, and also said that prices rose at a slower pace in May than a month before. Another report suggested hiring slowed last month by more than expected at U.S. employers outside the government. Stocks have been shaky recently after reports suggested that U.S. economic growth is fading under the weight of high interest rates. Wall Street has actually been hoping for such a slowdown because it can drive down inflation and convince the Federal Reserve Bank of the United States to deliver much more desired cuts to interest rates. But it is also raised the possibility of overshooting and sending the economy into a recession. And that will ultimately hurt stock prices. Treasury yields sank after the weaker than expected economic reports raised expectations for coming cuts to rates by the Federal Reserve. The yield on the 10-year Treasury yield fell to 4.29% from 4.33% late Tuesday and from 4.60% a week ago. The next big move for Treasury yields and Wall Street overall should come by Friday when U.S. government releases the monthly jobs report. That report is much more comprehensive than Wednesday's from the ADP, and the economists expect Friday's data to show a slight pickup in overall hiring. The hope continues to be that the job market shows its growth, but not by so much that it devolves into widespread layoffs. In other dealings, U.S. benchmark crude oil gained 34 cents to close at $74.41 per barrel in the electronic trading on the New York Mercantile Exchange. Brent crude oil, that's the international standard, was up 34 cents to close at $78.75 per barrel. The US dollar rose 156 Japanese yen from 15610 Japanese yen, and the euro climbed $1.08 to $1.86. You are watching ATM Business on Atlantic Television Network right here in the big business city of Port Harcourt. We will be back after this break for the interview section. Stay tuned.
We just dey vote for government, but we not get good governance.
At all.
Roads so e no dey, light o usa, the infrastructure nko e come turn to be forbidden fruit for the city.
Corruption spoil everything. Hello?
Hello, madam. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Mrs. Ayeni. I am calling from the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs.
Okay. Okay, I've been expecting your call.
Madam, remove this your phone from loudspeaker.
No vex. Now my phone be like that. Hello?
Are you there?
I hear, I'm hearing you.
Yes. We saw a copy of your invoice for computers, printers, and laptops.
Yes. Are you working on them now?
Ma, the prices you quoted are way too high now.
Madam, sorry, please don't cost.
We found the laptop you said is 1.8 million naira for 600,000 naira.
Hello?
Now my body network there.
I can't hear your network is bad.
Madam,
Madam, we can hear you. Continue.
Hello, I can't hear you. We call you back.
That behavior not good now.
Madam, now this kind behavior they kill our country. You suppose do things differently, make Nigeria for better.
Corruption not in my country. This message is brought to you by the Akin Fadeyi Foundation, the MacArthur Foundation,
and with broadcast support from Atlantic Television Network.
corruption not in my country.
I don't get a lot. Boy, they won't booga me small. They say, man, give them bribe. I say, nothing. Okay, now, we'll go block later. You remember that contract where we do that time now? They don't pay.
But first, you see the house rent with the old since. We go first call caretaker, take the money, slap am.
Beg, see, you know, say I get annual levy why they pay for club. Where me and boys they shark beer in our house, I supposed pay that one. You remember say me and tell you I go buy you motor. I go buy now.
Okay, they pay you money now. We don't they beg caretaker? We they beg landlord, old man, and they agree give us time. Money can't come now. You won't divert time. You said na corruption. Corruption, not in my house and not in my country.
Sure.
Corruption not in my country. This message is brought to you by the Akin Fadeyi Foundation, the MacArthur Foundation,
And with broadcast support from Atlantic Television Network.
From the line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring on-the-spot news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on The Fact Today, only on ATN.
Corruption not in my country.
Driver, why you just a jack us up and down like this now?
I hope nobody carry belle.
Why you ask, oh?
Because this road where they see so, it no guarantee safe delivery. We just dey vote for government, but we not get good governance.
At all.
Road so no dey. Light outside. The infrastructure it can't turn to be forbidden fruit for the people.
Corruption, spoil everything. Hello?
Hello, madam. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Mrs. Ayeni. I am calling from the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs.
Okay, I've been expecting your call.
Madam, remove this your phone from loudspeaker.
No vex, now my phone be like that. Hello?
Are you there?
I hear, I'm hearing you.
Yes. We saw a copy of your invoice for computers, printers, and laptops.
Yes. Are you working on them now?
Ma, the prices you quoted are way too high now.
Madam, sorry, oh. Please don't cost.
We found the laptop you said is 1.8 million naira for 600,000 naira.
Hello?
Now my body network there.
I can't hear you. Network is bad.
Madam, we can hear you. Continue.
Hello, I can't hear you. I will call you back.
That behavior not good now.
Madam, now this kind behavior they kill our country. You suppose do things differently, make Nigeria for better.
Corruption not in my country. This message is brought to you by the Akin Fadehi Foundation, the MacArthur Foundation,
and with broadcast support from Atlantic Television Network. It's my pleasure to welcome you back to ATN Business on Atlantic Television Network. Right now, we're going straight into the interview section. Our guest for today is a financial analyst of note. He is a lot to be described just in a few words, but he will take his time to analyze some issues that have been bothering the country for today, and later we will talk about his personality. He is Dennis Chuks, a financial analyst. It's a pleasure having you on ATN Business.
Pleasure is all mine. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Much. Thank you so much.
All right, let's delve into the first story for today. Despite petrol subsidy removal, the Nigerian government said fuel subsidy is projected to reach 5.4 trillion naira by the end of 2024. This, it said, compares unfavorably with 3.6 trillion naira in 2023. This is contained in a draft copy report of the Accelerated Stabilization and Advancement Plan, ASAP, presented to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu by the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wale Edun, on Wednesday. I will want to chip in here before we continue this question section that there was, at around 2 p.m. today, there was a report from the Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wale Edun, saying that this report, the ASAP report, the Accelerated Stabilization and Advancement Plan report, was just a futuristic projection and not a real federal government document. But I think that where there is smoke, there is fire. We will continue until this discussion. What do you think about these allegations that 3.6 trillion naira 3.6 trillion naira in 2023 was spent for fuel subsidy, and likely we might spend 5.4 trillion naira by the end of 2024. How does that rub off on you, sir?
All right, thank you very much for that. Although there have been some discrepancies and, you know, the federal government trying to deny the fact that nothing of such was spent. And, well, the minister of, the finance minister, you know, came up and saying that all these allegations that the subsidy have been scrapped when the president, as President Tinubu, came up on stage when he was giving his inaugural speech, that subsidy will be scrapped immediately he stepped into office. But the fact is that if it is true that such amount was spent on subsidy, that is a slap on the face of the country. It's a huge slap on the face of the country, because Nigeria is going, let me not use the word going down, but the economy is crumbling. A lot is happening just at the same time. We are losing control of our prices. The market is on the high side. Fuel is on the high side. And although normally fuel subsidy was introduced in 1970 so that the regulation of prices of commodity will be intact. But going by what is happening in the country and the economy, it's very important. The government deemed it important to scrap the fuel subsidy out. Nevertheless, critically analyzing the fuel subsidy and why should we scrap that is a good idea, because the country is going down, the economy is going down, and our currency is being devalued by the day. So taking fuel subsidy out is not a bad idea. But the point is, the finance and the money for the subsidy, where will it be diverted to? The government have been trying to tell us that they're going to invest in small and medium scale enterprises. They're going to the poor and some local community will benefit from it. But looking at it from another perspective, is the government truthful in this? We're looking at the high budget for the Senate. We're looking at the traveling expenses and everything going about within the government sector. The average Nigerian will doubt the sincerity of the government. And looking at it, we can say that if that huge amount is spent on fuel subsidy, despite the president telling us that it's been scrapped, it therefore means that the hope for the country is very slim.
Okay, let us say that I know that there are some governments, there's a plan by the government for this report, this accelerated stabilization and advancement plan per se. There are plots for it not to go mainstream. That's why we are the media. We've captured it and we are going to run as much as possible with it. How much is it that we, knowing that we buy crude in dollars, why is the pump price for petrol, for instance, in Nigeria still remaining constant when the price of crude has increased, sometimes even hitting the $90 mark? And yet, we are still buying petrol here even below 800 naira. Do you think it's feasible? And there have been reports, even from IMF, saying that Nigeria is one of the cheapest places to buy petrol. In fact, it's even causing our neighboring countries to even increase smuggling at our expense. What gives if the petrol price has not increased up to 1,000 naira and we are buying this crude, or we are sourcing crude, or the world market is running on the dollar, and the dollar presently is at 1,400 and something naira? What gives?
Okay, basically for me, if we trace it down to the subsidy removal, if the subsidy is being removed, we know that everything will skyrocket.
Yeah.
Both prices of fuel and stuff like that will skyrocket.
Yeah.
And I think that the government, with the way the government came in, they want to win the favor of the average and the average masses. They want to win the favor. So whatever they can do to ensure that there's a thumbs up for the government, I think they are ready to do it.
Yeah.
So on the part of the federal government, they are doing the best to ensure that the country does not go haywire, because there are threats. The labor just came out from the strike. A lot of threats all over. So there are certain things they need to do on the ground, even if it doesn't come out, to ensure that at least the average Nigerian has a kind of a stable life, despite the itch in the prices. We'll look about the fuel fuel price. The mindset of an average Nigerian is that if we produce crude and we produce fuel, despite that we export to refine and bring it back. Then if we produce that, fuel is supposed to be, something that we can afford in our Bekako. Unknown to them is that despite when the subsidy was there, when the government is trying to import it back, there's some theft, corruption, and the smuggling and stuff like that to some West African countries, just like you said. And if the government could coup this, because when the government came in, they said they're going to scrap it. But looking at it again critically, I think they will go back to their drawing boards and say, if we scrap this totally and everything skyrocket, all the nation, the plight and the task of the burden of the people will be on us, and we tag failures. So the best thing to do is, I think, for them to just maybe do something on the ground and just come up and say, the Nigerian, we have this, we've scrapped it up or stuff like this, but you see that the fuel price is still there to some extent, still struggling, coming up and going down. And so I think that's just the best they could do for now. But it's quite unfortunate that we have not come to a point where we can be sincere and come out to tell the truth of what is happening both on the ground and in the government. I'm trusting that Nigeria will come to that point where we can boldly talk about what is happening in the country and the economy, and then answer the questions of an average Nigerian, and kind of dismantle the doubt and tell us what is really happening so that we can have a clear view that this is what the country is passing through and this is what we should expect. So that tomorrow we don't see something again, I'm like, what is happening? And the government is bringing another excuse and upon excuse, and that doesn't really hold water.
All right, you know, seeing that using the terms of medieval times, their head could be on the spikes. Okay. If the truth really comes out concerning this, because we've gotten insinuations, even from Nasir El-Rufai, even from some other quarters, even from petroleum marketers, they are fingering that something is going on. But do you expect the truth? Should they say the truth if it's going to put their political careers on the spike? But let's not go into that question. Let me put it to you that what is the way forward concerning Nigeria's hydrocarbon industry, concerning Nigeria's oil industry? What is the way forward? Advice.
All right. I think for me, the way forward is, first of all, we all know that, or let me not say we all know that, so I will not be commenting, I will not be fallacious. Yeah. So let me say, the first subsidy, the fuel subsidy, must be scrapped. Because for us to maintain and have a sustainable economy, because Nigeria foreign debt is increasing, and the economy is going down. So for us not to be overburdening the country, lest we wake up one morning and find that we have no country.
Exactly.
So for us not to overburden the country, we must come to the fact, understand with the government that first subsidy must be scrapped. And if it's scrapped, we know that there will be high cost of things. But market prices, since Nigeria, most of our product is dependent on fuel.
Yeah.
And both from the market to the industry to our production, everything is predicated on fuel.
Yeah.
So if your subsidy is scrapped, the cost of living will be high.
Exactly.
And if the cost of living will be high, it will not be easy for an average Nigerian to cope. I think that is why the NLC is coming up with the increase of minimum wage. Despite the fact that minimum wage should be increased, I think that the government should also look at other sectors. We should not be majorly on consumption, but should think on production.
Okay.
So we should try to support and encourage our producers. So some of this money that are used for the fuel subsidy can be diverted to, just like the government said, SMEs. Also should be monitored. Because find that when they say they want to divert money to the SMEs, we'll find at the end that their cousins, their relations and stuff like that, the ones that, you know,
the SMEs.
Exactly. And you see the list of names of those that don't have any business at all.
Yeah.
And those that really have businesses and they have projects to do, they have things to do. I've come across people that there's one that is into renewable energy, solar energy. It creates from the scratch to the finish. And looking for sponsors, we went to different places, different parastatals, and you could be amazed with what they're telling us. You know, people are looking for their corporate, looking at this, they're diverting this, and you are so amazed. That are we trying to fight or work towards the good of the country, or we are looking at our selfish interest and ambition? So I believe that some of the funds should be diverted to the SMEs to be encouraged. We should dwell more on production. We should encourage renewable energy. You know, because the President Muhammadu Buhari administration signed that we want to go on greenhouse, want to reduce fossil fuel and go green. Yeah. So if he signed that agreement, that means that he cannot be subsidizing fuel.
Exactly.
So it is antithetical. So basically, we have to stand on the point that first subsidy will be scrapped, and then palliative also is on another thing. But the palliative should be given to the sincerely poor. The question now is, how can we know those that are really poor? Because every Nigerian, if you bring a head and tell you, I did this, I did this. So I think that there should be a kind of a practical or a kind of a committee set aside that should investigate, understand, down to their bank statement and down to those relations, and those are related to those that are up there should not be part of it. So a committee inaugurated, go down, investigate, and ensure that these people they are really what they say they are. And when the money is given to them, they'll be able to, you know, kind of monitor the fundings. These are kind of, you know, few things that the government can do to elevate the sufferings that the masses will go through when truly the fuel subsidy is scrapped.
We have been picking the brains of Mr. Dennis Chuks, a financial analyst of repute. I told you before we started. And I am sure that despite the weather conditions today, he still made it to the studios today, and I believe that by popular demand, he is going to come back same time next week for us to do more on this topic and others. But Be that as it may, we still have one more topic to discuss about. The maritime experts have lamented the high rate of water pollution in Nigeria, adding that it has far-reaching consequences. And a scholar at the Western Illinois University, Moline, Illinois, United States, Samuel Babatunde, disclosed this in a document obtained by the press. According to Babatunde, the country's maritime industry faces multiple sources of water contamination. He stated that the industrial effluents, agricultural runoffs, oil spills, plastic trash, and untreated sewage were some of the main causes. He added that different harmful substances such as heavy metals, persistent organic pollutants like PFAs were released directly into the water bodies by industrial activity. Yo, Mr. Dennis Chooks, water everywhere, but none to drink. Water consisting of the highest percentage of our earth, but potable drinking water is very hard to find. And now our river bodies, our water bodies all around us in Nigeria are beginning to face a threat from industrialization, from pollution, from hydrocarbon activities, both legal and illegal. I know we are short of time, but in one punch, give us your take on this.
All right. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Water is a very important. It's very important for the human life and human health. And just like in philosophy, Thales, we say everything originates from water. But the fact is that we've been experiencing water pollution, and the United Nations has come up with the fact that Nigeria is almost, our water is polluted, about 70% of our water is polluted. And that is not a pass mark for us at all. That should mean that we have open defecation also causes pollution of water, emission of greenhouse gases. We have sewage waste, we have plastic bottles, we have a lot of debris in the water. So I think that we must re-emphasize the need of treated water. And we must make this the government should make this accessible so that people can be able to have access to clean water and have access to the chemicals to purify water. And then water industries should be supervised. And the basic authorities that ensure clean water should be backed up so that we can have clean and healthy water. Both children, women, men, and the likes. Because we need water to survive.
Definitely.
And if our water is contaminated, that means that mortality rate will be high.
Definitely.
So the government should look into the sector severely. Because most of the water, they are just polluted. That's the truth. Even coming from the factory. Most of them are highly polluted. And this has increased death rate. Cholera everywhere, and a lot of disease from water. So if we could, ensure that the purification of water is topmost priority, like the SDGs talking about clean water. If we could make that as a priority in Nigeria and ensure that the chemicals to purify the water are available and the authority to monitor these are enhanced, then I believe that we'll do justice to it.
Great one, great one, great one. We have been speaking to Mr. Dennis Chooks, a financial analyst of repute, and I believe that by popular demand, we are going to have him here back same time next week. But for now, this is where we wrap it up on ATN Business on Atlantic Television Network right here in the big business city of Port Harcourt. Do well to connect with us on our ATN socials. We are open for advert placements, bookings, commercials, and stay connected on ATN socials on YouTube and Facebook, Atlantic Television Network, Instagram and TikTok, Atlantic TV Network 1, on X, formerly Twitter, Atlantic TV Net, or watch us live on our website, atlanticnetwork.tv. Peace and unity are the pathways to progress. Do well to stay tuned for ATN Politics coming up next, and thank you for watching.